All right, let's get into today's deep dive. Shelagh Delaney's A Taste of Honey.
Yeah, a really fascinating one.
It is. And look, it's not just, a straightforward picture of working class life. It really felt like a bombshell back then, challenging the whole moral code of 1950s Britain.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to unpack how Delaney uses these morally ambiguous characters and situations.
Okay.
We want to explore how much morality seems to depend on, well, your circumstances, your social situation.
And Jo specifically, right? Her complexity.
Exactly. Jo is both a victim of her circumstances, but also someone making her own choices, an agent.
And this idea that maybe there aren't any clear heroes or villains.
That's the big question we'll circle back to. It's a key part of the play's impact.
So 1958, this play lands, and it's pretty revolutionary. It's showing things like race, gender, sexuality really candidly on stage.
Yeah, like never before in quite that way.
Yeah.
And Delaney gives us these situations that really force the audience to confront those 1950s norms head on.
Like Helen's motherhood.
Right, take Helen. I mean, on the surface, you could easily say she's selfish, neglectful, abandoning Jo for Peter.
Seems pretty clear-cut bad mothering.
But then she says it herself, quite frankly, doesn't she? I'm not cut out for motherhood.
Yeah.
And her going after Peter, chasing financial security, well, it points to the very, very limited options for working-class women back then. It's almost a survival strategy.
A desperate one, maybe.
Possibly. And then she comes back, doesn't she? Driven by what seems like real concern. It just complicates things. You can't easily condemn her.
Okay, so that's one major challenge to the audience's morals. What else?
Well, then there's Jo and Jeffrey's relationship. I mean, think about it. A young gay man living platonically with an unmarried pregnant teenager.
Yeah, that would have been scandalous. Truly shocking.
Totally. But Delaney presents this setup, well, arguably as the most nurturing, the most genuinely supportive relationship in the whole play. And Jeffrey's line, "You need somebody to love you while you're looking for someone to love." That just cuts right through all the legal and social boxes people were put in. It asks, what's real human value?
So the play's constantly saying, look closer. It's not that simple. How does it connect this directly to, poverty and social conditions?
Oh, it's everywhere. It hammers home how moral choices are often, painfully tied to just getting by, to material reality.
Right.
Jo accepting Jeffrey's help here, is unconventional, but it comes from this deep loneliness, this desperate need for support. She literally says, "You're the first person who's ever been nice to me."
Wow. Yeah.
And Helen's choices, too, her pragmatism. When she says, a woman's got to think of her future,
Yeah.
that's a morality based on survival, on economic reality.
Even the setting reinforces it. The flat.
Exactly. That cramped, cold flat, it's like a physical manifestation of their limited options. It makes it clear that sometimes survival just has to come first, and maybe strict morality is luxury they can't afford.
Okay, so circumstances shape morality. But let's get back to Jo. Is she just swept along by all this, or does she push back?
That's the really interesting part, the tension. She's absolutely a victim, no question. Neglected, poor, exploited by Jimmy, facing social stigma. Peter even suggests she should just go into a home.
Horrible.
Yeah, but she shows incredible agency, too. She chooses the relationship with Jimmy, whatever its flaws. She accepts Jeffrey's help, and crucially, she decides to keep her baby.
That's a huge act of defiance, isn't it?
A profound one, yeah. And she uses her sharp wit, her art, to express herself. She refuses to just internalize all that stigma.
So she's fighting back within her limited world.
Exactly. This push and pull between her constraints and her own will, her self-determination, that's what makes her so incredibly complex and, frankly, compelling.
So that brings us to the idea of no clear heroes or villains. How strongly does that hold up?
I think it holds up very well. Delaney seems to deliberately sidestep those easy moral labels. Take Jeffrey. He's compassionate, supportive, sure. But is he a pure, selfless hero? Maybe not entirely. His care for Jo is also tied up with his own loneliness, his own need for connection.
Right, he gets something out of it too.
Exactly. And Peter. He's probably the easiest to dislike, the closest to a villain, maybe.
Yeah, he seems pretty exploitative.
He does. But his actions, his exploitation of Helen, they also reflect wider issues, power dynamics, class prejudice. He's kind of a product of those social forces himself, not just pure evil incarnate.
And Helen, we already talked about her complexities.
Right. Despite all her failings, those moments of, genuine, if maybe clumsy, affection for Jo, they stop her from being just a monster.
So by refusing these easy labels, Delaney forces us, the audience, the reader.
Forces you to suspend that quick judgment. to try and find some empathy, to understand why people act the way they do in these really tough situations.
So wrapping up then, A Taste of Honey is way more than just a slice of life play.
Oh, much more.
It feels like it fundamentally shifted the conversation in British theater about morality, tying it directly to social conditions. It really broadened the landscape.
It absolutely did. And maybe the final thought for people listening is this. If we accept that morality is so deeply tied to context, so contextual, how does that change how we judge other people?
Or even ourselves.
Or even ourselves, yeah. The play really pushes for a maybe more generous, more understanding view of human behavior, flaws and all.
A powerful message even today. Thank you for joining this deep dive.